Hello and welcome. My name is Fake Fairy Tale and welcome to the 5th video in the Let's Build a Cave series. Now, in the previous videos, I said that I would wrap up the shadowing and shading and some of the lighting, so that's what I did in between the videos. Right now, I think I'm quite happy with the overall vibe of this cave. I see that there are still a few sections that might be a bit too bright, but I also don't want to make it too dark, because if we do that, you can't see any of the details, and that would just be a bummer. So I might go ahead and change those things still. However, it's just more of the same. So for now, I would like to continue with something else, which is the invisible walls and making sure that your lighting works properly in a cave. Now, one of the giant issues that I often encounter, especially at the start, when I was starting out with Dungeondraft, was that I was trying to make a cave, and I wanted to say, let's add in a lantern. Spelling remains quite hard. Oh well. There we go. We added a lantern, place it on layer 4, and we'll position it over here. Sure that it has a bit of an appropriate size. There we go. And I wanted it to have a nice light in there. So we're gonna add a nice light, make it a bit brighter. There we go. And what you see right now is that it leaks through the walls, meaning it brightens up the negative space inside the walls as well. And that's something you don't want. And like right now, it's not even that obvious, but if you really want to overdo it, there we go. You get that result. And especially for cave systems where you have a lot of lanterns, it just looks better if you don't use that at all. So I went out my way and struggled with placing walls underneath the cave, the edges of the cave, which is a possibility. It works. You could like try to follow this. Though the problem is that oftentimes you have some walls leaking. And then I discovered, due to a post on Reddit or on Discord, I believe, that if you take one of these walls, especially the top left one, and you put the alpha value on 0, you create invisible walls. And this is perfect for preventing light from leaking through. So in this case, what we want to do is we follow, like, presumably the outside edge. There we go, and we can still edit it a little bit to make sure that, for example, the top side of the cliffs all darkened out. And you can place these down to block light. And I think, especially for example, if you place a lantern on the ground over here, you could also add in a invisible wall on the side, like so, because this rock or boulder blocks the light going over it. So there are quite a few things that you can do with this. Just for the sake of an interesting map, I'll leave this here, because I think it might look neat. But I will change it a little bit to something that has an intensity of 1. Add it in there, and I'll change some shadows over there later. Now, the same thing I wanted to do all the way up top over here, because the idea that I had was that this is a dungeon, and we might already just add in a few braziers, like 1 or 2, or 1 and a, let's say, over here. I think that works. And let's go to light sources. And we will add in a torch, wall brazier. You might actually, I think it's better to just leave it at that. And we'll take this light source, we'll place it over here. I'll change it up a little bit because I want it to be brighter and a bit larger, like so, because the brazier is full on lid, so we want the light that it sheds to be quite bright. We're going to take the wall again, place it all the way down, alpha value all the way down, and we'll follow the edge here like so. And in order to make sure that the light flows out naturally, because I don't really like how this is going, let's do it like so, I think. A bit brighter, but we'll make it some... There we go. And then we're gonna move around the lights a little bit. We'll make this one smaller. Make sure that you don't have the line going in there. It's still there, but it's barely noticeable. And now you have a lot of light leaking through here again as well. Let's do it like so. I will take again the wall tool and we'll follow these edges over here. Make sure that there's no light leaking out. There we go. Now that way we have something a bit more interesting to look at in the top left. I think we can add maybe some sort of objects there already. Maybe a table, or maybe we can add in some, how do you call them? The chains. Let's make it something quite rusty. And we'll place this underneath. Oh, you can... There we go. That is actually a little bit too dark right now. So we'll make it a small light, place that on top of it. All right. Again, we want to add in some shadows here as well. Make sure that that's a little bit too big. Make sure that the ball casts a shadow on the other side. We'll make it very small and we'll do it on the back side of the chain as well. And we'll make it a bit larger on the above wall layer, and we'll make the back side of this chain file here. Good. Now we still have to do the same thing with these stones over here. Give it a little bit more shadow because there is light coming from the left hand side. So we want to draw out their shadows a bit more. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm satisfied with that. And we will quickly check this out. I noticed that that could be on layer 3 or 4 even, perhaps. Now I want to change up the... Let's see if I can reach it. There we go. Remove that. And we will place a new shadow over there because I made a little of a boo-boo. That has to be on layer 3. That's not what we want to do. I want to... that's better. And then we need to... That's on layer 4 already. Selecting things can be a bit tricky. Oh well. It's fine for now. I will add in a shadow underneath. There we go. And we'll add in some shadows to the spade itself because now we have some light casting from the back side. There we go. I have at least some shapes. And we'll add in these All right, and we want to make the other side of this sack a bit darker and that side a bit darker. All right, great. As it stands right now, I think I'm actually quite happy with how this map looks. I think we can still add in some details, some clutter. One of the things that I actually thought of in between videos was that a skeleton of sorts could be interesting, so we'll add in that. And I don't think I want to add in an entire skeleton just like that. I want it to be just some bones. I think we can add it in here. Make sure that it's on 0.5. That's for the Forgotten Adventure assets. Actually, they've been oversized. So if you want a human-sized skeleton, you have to put it at 0.5. And we'll just place down like a few of these bones over here, which could also help somebody think of a place where they want to put a nest. I actually want to have a skull. Let's see if we can hide the leg. I don't like it that much. And a skull. We'll make sure that we darken the whole thing out a little bit. On a jaw. That works. He's still smiling. Awesome. We'll add in some shadow pathing. Let's take the really thin ones. Oh, and I actually realized that I forgot to place down some lighting over here, which is good because now I can walk you guys through how I approach the light over here. So, to give an example, what I did over here was I added in a glow for the crystals itself, and I placed some lights surrounding it. And while I look at this, I realized that it might be a good idea to place some invisible walls here as well, because it's very close to the side of the rock. And we have to, I'll place it over that line over there. It's better. And we might want to do the same things over here. I think that's good. Just don't want it to leak through into the negative space. There we go. So I have some additional light sets, and one of the things that works really well for this are these little dots over here. We'll put it on bright green, and you can make them really small. So that works quite well. I think there's even a smaller one. Let me check. Yeah, that works amazing. So the first thing I did is make sure that this is properly lit up. It doesn't have to be too bright because, well, it's soft glowing crystals. We don't want to have it shed everywhere and be like a morning star. And the light is going to leak out a bit, especially on the rocks, on the fronts, and on the top here as well. So we'll just place down some lights along the edge. I still want to add in some shadow pathing here as well. Let's see. And some glow on the rocks here on the top. And then I just try to see what would be some places to highlight with this kind of light. And I think in this situation, there's actually not that much. Potentially we can, but those are too small. And that's too big. Light up the edge over here a little bit. And go back to the other one. Is that the right one? That was the right one. Yep. All right, that's great. I will fix up the edge of this set of crystals, and it shouldn't be, I think we can use a thinner one over here. We just take this very thin strip of shadow, and I use that to I'll take that one. And you don't really notice much difference, but if you do this a few times over, you'd see that the backside's starting to get toned down. And we'll do the same thing with the other ones over here. Because it has to be quite subtle. And we'll click along the edges. There we go. And I think we can use actually one darker one on the side here. And for that one over there as well. All right. And now I see that might look a little bit odd because the light is a bit too far up the stone. So we'll have the glow be there, but turn it down again with a little bit of shadow pathing. That's okay. All right. That works wonders. Great. So there's a little bit of a scene change here. In between the video or at the end of the recording of the previous video, I was still looking at the map and I was like, I'm missing a few things here and there. I wasn't entirely satisfied, though I already thought it would look, it looks quite good. So I decided to dive in again and add a few teeny tiny things in here. Well, one of the things was quite major actually, which is the negative space within the rock. I tried to, I wanted to make it darker to put the focus on the center of the map, the place where combat will occur, just because the negative space isn't really contributing anything to the map. So I thought it would be better to just darken it out. I added a shadow path along the trim here. I see if I can highlight it somewhere. Yeah, there we go. To make sure that the transition between the rock and the negative space was quite soft. And in the end, I think this looks quite a lot better than what I had. I also added a pillar over there with a little bit of shadow. I added some webbing here and there. As if spiders are living or occupying this cave, to make sure that there's just a few more things to see, especially at the places that I thought were a bit empty. Now, overall, I'm quite happy with the result, and this is where I want to leave this series for now, or this section of the series at least. I want to continue on making a dungeon and show you how I go about making a dungeon. It will probably be a multi-room dungeon with a few different places. I'll also go a bit more in depth on how I make an interesting encounter, like an interesting battle map, because in the end, that's most likely what you'll be doing. I think I will pull that away from the series and make that a separate video where I go about giving you some theory about how I think a battle map should look like. And that's also something that could help you when you're just at the table drawing up a battle map. There are just a few core values that you can keep in mind, or a few rules of thumb. In the end, this map looks cool. I'll be definitely sharing it in a link in the video description to an Imgur page or whatever. I'll see what I can think of so that you can download it and use it yourself if you like during one of your campaigns. I'll be adding a Dungeondraft file as well so that you can play around with it in Dungeondraft if you want. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like, favorite or subscribe button, and I definitely hope to see you again in the next video.